today I'm going to show you how to make a basic beginner layered macrame piece. So this is the final finished product here. For this piece you'll need about 200 feet of 4mm 3-strand cotton rope. You can get most of this at a craft store or Amazon. There are different macrame suppliers on Etsy or different places. This rope is from Amazon. I'm also using a 1/2 inch wooden dowel that's trimmed to 18 inches. For this piece we're going to use 2 basic knots. We're going to use a Larks head knot and an alternating right and left square knot. So I'll show you how to do those when we get to that piece. So for the first layer we're going to use 20 different ropes that we'll attach to this bar here with our Larks head knot. And for measuring these, I measure all of my pieces in body length, so not in inches. So what I mean by body length is we're going to use our rope here, your full wingspan. So it's about the length that you are in height. So I'm about 5'6", so each of my pieces of full body lengths are about 66 inches. If you want to measure them out, you sure can. For this piece, we're going to use some full body lengths, half body lengths, and about 3/4, so about to my shoulder for this full piece. So for the first row, we're going to need 12 of these full body lengths, and then we're going to need 8 3/4 body lengths. And the reason for that is you can see we're kind of making this triangular form here. So the ropes in the middle section of the piece need to be slightly longer than the pieces on the outside. So the first 12 will be our full body lengths, and then 4 on each of the outside will be our 3/4 body lengths. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut my rope out for 12 full body lengths. Okay, so I've got my 12 full body lengths, so now I'm going to switch to 8 3/4 body lengths. Okay, so that's my 8 3/4 body lengths and my 12 full body lengths. And I should mention for this setup here, I work on all of my pieces on a clothing rack with some S-hooks to hold them up, and that's just a little bit more useful than if you're laying them down or trying to work on them from them on the floor or something like that. You certainly can do that. If you plan on making multiple macrame pieces, I think it's really useful to have a setup like this. This is just a collapsible clothing rack I got on Amazon. It's great because it folds up and you can store it under your bed or under some furniture. And these pieces on the end are extendable, which I use to roll my rope from. So it's a lot more convenient. Okay, so next we're going to attach all of our ropes for this first layer to our hanging rod. So to do this, we're going to use a Larks head knot. So to start with that, you're going to fold your rope in half. And you want to make sure that the ends of your rope are even. We're going to go ahead and throw this over the bar so we have a loop here. We're going to pull those 2 ends straight through the loop. You can see that makes our Larks head knot that's going to connect our piece. Now because these are my full body length pieces, they're going to start in the middle. So I'm going to do all 12 of those in the middle of this piece. I'm just going to go ahead and get all of these attached. And I should comment that this piece, even for a beginner, will take just about an hour to make. Okay, so I've got all 12 of my full body length pieces. And now I'm going to start on the 3/4 body pieces. There's going to be 4 on each side. Remember, we cut 8, so we're going to do 4 on each side. Okay, so now at this point, you should have all 20 pieces attached to your rod. So now I'm going to show you how to do our first row of square knots. So I'm going to start on the left and work to the right, and each of our square knots is made up of a left-handed square knot and a right-handed square knot, and we're going to do that for 10 rows. So I'm going to show you how to do our first left-handed square knot. We're working with our 2 pieces of rope here first, and we end up with 4 little tails. So we've got 2 inside pieces and 2 outside pieces. So what we're going to do first is take our left outside piece and cross that over our 2 center pieces. We're going to kind of make a 4 like this with this loop right here. Then we're going to take our right-handed outside piece and put this over our left-handed outside piece and take it behind our 2 center pieces and through that loop we've just created. And now we're going to pull that up tight. And we're going to pull it nice and tight to keep these lark head knots at the top really tight. Now we're going to repeat that, but we're going to do the right-handed side. So we're going to take our right-handed outer rope and cross that over our middle pieces, create this loop here, and take our left-handed outer rope behind our 2 center pieces and pull that right through our loop. And that is our first square knot. So you can see that makes this loop here. Now we're going to move on to these next two ropes, and we're going to repeat that. So left over middle, right over left, and under middle through the loop. Switch sides. And we're going to do this across this whole row. Okay, so now we have our first full row here. So now we're going to move on and start a second row, but we're going to start 1 in. So the first thing we're going to do is I like to pull out these last 2 outer pieces, throw them over my pole so I know that I won't be working with them, and I'm going to start on this next row with our second knot in. And we're just going to repeat and do the same thing. Okay, now we're going to start on our third row. Same thing, I'm going to pull these up, start 1 more in, and we're going to continue to do this until we have hit 10 rows. We're on row 3. Okay, row 4. Okay, row 5. Row 6. All right, row 7. All right, row 8. Okay, row 9. Row 10, we're down to our last 4 strands. So if you've made it this far, you should now have your first layer of this macrame piece and our triangular netting here. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to start your second layer. So first we need to attach the rope that we're going to hang all of our other pieces onto. So we're going to cut a rope about 3/4 of a body length. And we're going to attach it to each side of our rod, the lark's head knot. In this instance, our rope ends do not need to be the same length. We want them to be a little bit shorter so that we can, and you can vary the length on this. You can have it go lower, or you could have it come up higher. I like it a couple of inches or so below the point of my triangle. So I'm going to start with my first lark's head knot. And on this side, we're going to do something a little bit different. And as you add rope, this is going to get heavier, so it's going to pull it down a little bit. So you might want to have it a little bit tighter than where you want it to end. So you can see if you put some pressure on it, it's going to end about there. So I've got my loop here, and I've got 1 tail string. I'm going to wrap behind my loop all the way around, back through the back and through this loop. Okay, so now we're going to cut out 52 half body lengths to make our second layer here. All right, so once you have all of the pieces cut out, we're just going to attach them to the rope the same way that we did the rod. So we're going to fold our piece in half, make sure our tails meet, and in this case we want to make sure that we get both ropes covered with our lark's head knots. So we're going to wrap it around and pull our tails through the loop. Okay, so I've done the first 10 of the 52 here. You can see how that started, and all you're going to do is just continue this all the way across to the other end. So once you get to this end, you've got your double layers, and you're free to do what you want with it. So in this case, if you wanted to, you can trim, give your little piece a haircut, and trim it. I like to keep this particular piece in a rounded bottom, but if you wanted to, you could cut it at a V, or you could cut it straight across. If you're very ambitious, you could try to dip dye the ends. This is 100% cotton, so it will take a RIT dye or fabric dye really, really well. You could try to dip dye it if you wanted. You could also tie some strings to the end, so if you were going to hang this up, you could use some nails to hang it straight on the wall, or you could just tie some rope, make yourself a hanger. And that is your basic beginner layer macrame piece. Send me pictures if you make it. I'd love to see them.